Assalamu alaikum students, hope you all are doing good and having a good day. I urge you all to stay safe at your homes because for that purpose you all are given this holiday and we are arranging an online session. So we will be covering this one topic in our online class today. So the topic of concern of our today's lesson is use of was and were, as you all can see it on the board, titled as a grammar practice and the use of was and were. But before heading towards the main topic, we will do a quick recap of what we have read in the last lesson, and that topic was of preposition. Almost 2 sections of 4 class have already done with that topic, and those who are not done with the recap, we will be doing it again. For that, you can revise the topic which we have read in the last lesson, and then we'll move forward towards the main topic of today. So preposition was basically a topic of grammar, and I have told you that it was one of the main parts of speech that shows the relationship between a noun and a pronoun with other part of the sentence, which I have told you. For example, if we have a sentence here is the cat is dash the table. So the cat is basically a noun, and under the table is the other part of the sentence. That's not your concern right now and on your level, that the under the table or the table is which part of the sentence, but we will now be discussing what preposition does in the sentence. So if we put the cat is dash the table, and if we put under in between that blank, the sentence will be completed as the cat is under the table. So that means now it's making a sense that the sentence is incomplete without a preposition, and preposition shows a link, a connection or a relationship between these two parts of the sentence, whether a noun or a pronoun, and with the remaining part of the sentence you can always say as a predicate. Okay, so also there are other examples that can be considered for preposition is that I am sitting on the chair. So the on in the sentence is preposition. She is standing beside the tree. वो दरख्त के साथ खड़ी हुई है. So this beside is also the preposition. And if we say I am writing on the board, I am writing on the book, I am writing on the notebook. So on here is also the preposition कि मैं अपनी किताब पर लिख रही हूँ या लिख रहा हूँ. So these all things are considered as the prepositions. I have also given you some examples for that, for the reference. For example, at, on, in, front, up, down, beside, below, and front, in front of, or you can say under, up, and all these kind were the examples of preposition that we have considered and we will talk about in the last lesson. So in this way we have covered preposition, and we got to know that if we have to maintain or build a connection between the noun and pronoun and with the predicate or the remaining part of the sentence, you can call it as the remaining part of the sentence. For right now we will use a preposition. Okay, so the preposition shows a relationship or a connection between these two topics, these two parts of the sentence, I'm sorry. And that was the recap of your previous lesson, and I have also assigned you a classwork, an activity in which you have you're supposed to do the fill in the blanks, and you are supposed to put in the appropriate prepositions in those blanks, so that you can understand how the prepositions and which type or which category of preposition will be used in these specific blanks. I hope you all are done with that homework, and also you're supposed to learn or revise the topic that was described or explained to you in the class. Okay, I hope that you all are done with that, and after the recap I will start the lesson and you all will be studying or reading alongside me. Okay, let's move on towards our today's lesson, which was the use of was and were. So let's discuss why we use was and were basically. So you all can see on the board that it is written, when we talk about something or some scenario, any condition that had happened in the past, we use was and were. Anything that was started or initiated in the past and it has already ended in the past, for that purpose we use was and were. So was and were किस चीज़ के लिए यूज होगा? कोई ऐसा सिनेरियो, कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन जो कि पास्ट में यूज हुई थी, पास्ट में स्टार्ट हुई थी एंड इट एंडेड इन द पास्ट, और वो पास्ट में खत्म हो गई, एंड नाउ यू आर डिस्क्राइबिंग द सिचुएशन इन योर प्रेजेंट. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ यू आर सपोज टू राइट एन essay of how you spent your holiday, okay? And that holiday was actually like 1 month ago, 1 week ago, or you can say a day before. So for that purpose you will use was and were. What will we use? Was and were to describe any scenario or any condition that had happened in the past, okay? So for that you will be using the was and were. Now I will explain one thing more. The was and were are basically the past form of the to be. We have discussed कि past में आपके लिए was and were को use किया जाता है. तो past form किसकी है? To be. तो to be को समझना है. Basically the to be describes present conditions. It will prolong the topic, but just in case to give you all the concept of to be basically describes all the present conditions. आपके present scenarios में मतलब कोई present scenario, there is something, if you are describing about some person, if you are describing about something, or if you are describing about some scenario, in the present you will use the to be form, means कि जो चीज़ present में हो रही है या हो रही वाली है उसके लिए आप ये to be use करेंगे. And past form इसकी होगी was and were. You will replace every present scenario with a past form using the was and were. For example, when you use the is, am, are. So ये सब क्या है? These are, they all describe present conditions. आपकी present scenarios को, your all present scenarios, all present conditions and the subjective opinions are described. If you are talking about the present conditions are described by using all these helping verbs that are is, am and are. But if you talk about those similar conditions that had happened in the past, for example, you ate breakfast in the morning. You are talking about that breakfast in the afternoon and you say you ate that breakfast in the morning. So that means कि वो क्या हो गया? Past हो गया. And if you talk about something, for example, I am eating it right now. आपने क्या किया? मैं ये अभी खा रही हूँ या खा रहा हूँ. So I was eating the same thing yesterday. मैं कल भी यही खा रही थी या खा रहा था. So that means to describe the past form we will be using the was and were. That is basically the quick introduction of how and where we use the was and were. So was and were are basically used and to describe the past scenarios and past conditions. वो चीज़ें जो past में initiate हुई और वो task जो past में start हुई and they ended in the past. So that purpose you will be using these two helping verbs of the past tense, that was and were. These two are helping verb of past tense. Okay. For that purpose, if you ever wanted to describe something or some scenario that had happened in the past, you will be using the was and were. Okay, getting my point? So this is how we explain that when and how and where was and were are basically used. Past conditions को explain करने के लिए हम was and were use करते हैं. To be present conditions को explain करता है. And then if we want to convert these present conditions, for example, if we are describing something that is happening in the present, for that purpose and to convert it into the past, we will be using what? Was and were. Yes, we will be using was and were. Keep that in your mind. One task or one thing that was initiated in the past, मतलब that was started in the past, उसको पास्ट में एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए उसको एंड इट वाज स्टार्टेड इन द पास्ट एंड इट हैड ऑलरेडी एंडेड एट दैट टाइम पीरियड. फॉर दैट पर्पज यू विल बी यूजिंग was and were. Just keep that in your mind. Any task that was started in the past and had ended in the past, we will be using was and were for that thing. Now I will be giving you some examples and we will be doing a quick activity to learn and to better understand when we use this was and were, and you will be better understand that topic from these activities or the classwork, whatever you can say. Okay, so children, keep that in your mind that you are not supposed to note down anything in your notebooks. This is any task that I am doing or anything that I am writing on the board is just for the purpose of your understanding or for your learning. The thing which I will ask you to note down, you will only note down in your notebooks, and you are supposed to write down and note down neatly the way we are doing in the class already. Okay, the same, you all will follow the same pattern of how to draw the margin lines with the proper you by using a ruler, and where to mention the date and day, and which format we basically follow in the class. You all will be doing and following the similar pattern. Got it? Now we will be moving towards the classwork activity, but you're not supposed to note it down right now. You all will be noting down whenever I will mention it and whenever I will ask you to note down. Getting my point? I hope so. You all are getting what I'm saying, and please pay keen attention to this topic because that is very important for all of you and for the purpose of your learning, from the aspect of your learning too. Okay, so children, this is your classwork. Now you all will be noting down it in your notebooks. Draw a table, write a subject on the left side and past tense verb on the right side, so that you can understand, and quickly tally the from with which subject which helping verb is basically used. I will explain furthermore. For example, you all can see that when I is a subject, these all are the subjects. For example, I subject, man. He, wo, ladka. She, wo, ladki. It is basically used for you know that non-living things. For example, table, chair, and whatever. And we, hum, they, wo, zyada log. They can be males and they can be even females, but they are plural in number. And you means tum, are, whatever. So we use I, was with I, was with he, she, it, and all the singular nouns. And we, they, you, we use word with all these we, they, you, and all the plural nouns. So basically with was and he, she, it, and singular nouns, we use this was, and with were is basically used with we, they, you, and all the plural nouns. Yes, getting my point? You all are supposed to note it down. I am writing the classwork here, notebook. You all can see that is your classwork, and it should be on the first page of your today's task. Okay. Now we will move forward towards the next page that will be on your notebook and the second part of your task. Okay, so children, this is not your homework or whatever you can say classwork. This is also for the purpose of learning. I am mentioning that learning on the side so that you will not note down it in your notebooks. Okay, this is not to note down. इसको आपने अपनी notebooks पे नहीं लिखना. The task which we have done अभी in the previous moments in which I have told you that was and were are being used with which subject, उसको आपने अपनी notebook पे लिखना है. इसको नहीं लिखना. Okay. This is only for the purpose of understanding. I will tell you that which with was and were are basically used and what are their basic use. Okay, so basically was is used for one person or thing, and were is used for more than one. For example, so was is used for one person or thing. If we are talking about one person and one thing, for example, he was, she was, it was, and we can say I was. Okay, so we will use was, and if we are talking about more than one, okay, then you will be using were. If we are talking about more than one, then we will be using were. They were, you were, we were, children were, and you can say teachers were, parents were. All these things are being used in these scenarios this way. Okay, एक चीज या एक शख्स के लिए was यूज किया जाएगा, ज़्यादा चीज़ों के लिए या ज़्यादा अशख़ास के लिए were यूज किया जाएगा. Getting my point? Now I will tell you all that in which scenarios and in which conditions we use basically was and were. Okay, now I'll be giving you some examples so that you can understand that in which conditions we use was and were, and they are used for basically describe word scenarios. Okay, let's move on towards that. Now they tell us something about now let us about how someone felt in the past कि एक आदमी ने या एक इंसान ने पास्ट में कोई चीज़ कैसी कंडीशन फील की. फॉर एग्जांपल दे विल डिस्क्राइब हाउ someone's emotions were in the past and how somebody felt in the past. For example, I will say she was, and what will be used with the she के साथ क्या यूज होगा? was will be used with she because she is a singular. She was tired yesterday. Okay, to show that something had happened in the past and it has already finished, you are supposed to use these kind of terminologies, these key points. We will also be covering these key points to understand कि हमने was word को use कहाँ पे करना है. Okay, she was tired yesterday. It was her condition. How she was feeling in the past? She was tired. Okay. And now they also explain or describe that where someone or something is. कोई शख्स कहाँ पर है या कोई चीज़ कहाँ पर है. They will also describe this. So second point is that they also describe and tell us where someone or something was. So they will tell us where someone or something was. We have used was. That means कि उस शख्स के बारे में बात हो रही है, जिस चीज़ के बारे में बात हो रही है, the thing which is under consideration that had happened in the past. So if we write that he was, what will be used with the he? Was will be used with he. He was at the market last night. Okay, last night means के गुजरी की रात. तो गुजरी हुई रात की is a key point. Last night is also a key point that you can understand that we will be using. Last night है तो we will be using was and were accordingly the subject. यहाँ पे they होता है तो हम were use करते हैं because यहाँ पे he है that we will be using was. Let's consider another example with the plural. You can see last. Again, the word last comes, and we can also have an idea that when the word last comes, we will also be using was and were accordingly the subject. Now the subject here is a plural, that's why we will be using the were here. It also tells us about someone, how someone felt in the past, and it also tells us about the information. That was the feeling. And it is also the information. So with this point I am just trying to make you that clear. For example, if you want to make or if you want to describe something or some scenario that had happened in the past, it can be any. It was about feeling, it was about the condition, it was about the information, but it had happened in the past, it was started in the past and it had ended in the past. You will be using what? Was and were. It will also describe the conditions that had happened in the past. For example, if we say there was a big storm last night, okay? See, there was a big storm last night. You all will be getting confused over the fact that यहाँ पे we are not identified with any specific subject. So in this scenario, you all will be considering a big storm means एक आंधी की बात हो रही है. There is a kind of a big storm. A का word use किया गया. So the a is basically used with the singulars. तो यहाँ पे we all will be getting that how will be. Okay, so A is basically used with similar nouns. So you all will be getting that if we are not identified with a subject, a proper subject. If we say there was a big storm last night, so you will be using it accordingly. Means के रात को एक बहुत तेज़ तूफान या आंधी आई थी. ठीक है, बहुत तेज़ तूफान था, बहुत तेज़ storm थी, बहुत बड़ा. So एक single की बात हो रही है. That's why we will be using this was with that. Getting my point? Now I will be assigning you the homework that you are supposed to do it on your notebooks for the purpose of further understanding. Okay, so this here is another activity for your understanding. You can see I have written down the present tense of some examples of the present tense along in the on the left side of the board, and the right side of the board, that section is empty with the past tense. Now we will be converting these present tenses into the past tenses so that we can understand how and where we use was and were. So the first tense here is I am happy today. मैं आज खुश हूँ. अब ये क्या है? That is a present tense. You are talking about your feeling, you are talking about your emotion, you are talking about your expression that you are feeling today. Now you have to convert this expression of this feeling as how you were feeling in the past. Now I is the subject, and what we use with the I is was. So I was, see, I will be the same. Now am will be converted to, with I we use was. Happy will be the same. And today is an expression that is used for the present tenses. आज की बात हो रही हो तो we use today. बट अभी आज की बात नहीं हो रही. जब हम प्रेजेंट को पास्ट में कन्वर्ट करेंगे तो ये आज की बात नहीं है. आई वॉज हैप्पी, सो टुडे विल बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू यस्टरडे. अगर आज की बात हो रही है तो आप इस टुडे को, टुडे आज के दिन की बात है तो आप इसको एक दिन पीछे लेकर जाएंगे. दैट मीन्स टुडे विल बी कन्वर्टेड टू यस्टरडे. आई वॉज हैप्पी यस्टरडे. See, I was happy yesterday. Now, she is at school. So, she will be the subject and tense will be changed. Okay, tense here is present and the helping verb here is. So, she के साथ हम क्या यूज करते हैं? Was. So, is will be replaced with was at school. Now to better explain it or to better understand the sentence, she was at school. आपने ये बता दिया कि वो स्कूल में थी. Now when and how, now when she was at school, you all have to explain to further elaborate it. You can also use any term that is associated to the past tense. Means she was at school last weekend. Okay. तो दिस लास्ट में डिस्क्राइब कि सिनेरियो किसमें था? पास्ट में शुरू हुआ था और पास्ट में ही खत्म हो गया. इट वाज इनिशिएटेड इन द पास्ट एंड इट हैज एंडेड इन द पास्ट. नाउ थर्ड सेंटेंस, दे, द सब्जेक्ट दे विल बी देयर इन द सेम वे. नाउ आर विल बी रिप्लेस्ड विद which will be used with the which past tense will be used with they. It will be were. They were in the park, and to better elaborate it, you will be using last night. So clear? They were in the park last night, and this is how we convert these present tenses into the past tenses. Okay, you're not supposed to note down it. This was also for your understanding. इसको भी आपने अपनी नोटबुक पे नोट डाउन नहीं करना. अभी तक एक ही एक्टिविटी मैंने आपको सब्जेक्ट और पास्ट टेंस वेरी नोट डाउन करवाई है अपनी नोटबुक पे. आपने उसी को नोटबुक पे नोट डाउन करना है. यू आर नॉट सपोज टू नोट डाउन ऑल दीज टास्क इन योर नोटबुक्स. ओके, आई शुडंट बी हैविंग अ लुक at all these things in your notebooks. Please make sure that it's for your purpose of learning, and give it a keen attention and understand it very well. Now I will be giving you the homework, and you're supposed to fill in the blanks that where we use the was and were. Now you all can have a look at those key points. ये जो key points यहाँ पे दिए गए हैं, these are for your better understanding, for your learning. You all need to note down it in your first page as a classwork. This is your classwork. Okay, this will be on your first page of the classwork after that activity that I have already that we have done. that I have asked you, that is, it is your classwork, and this here is your homework. Okay, this will be your homework activity. So these are the key points that I have mentioned over there. इसको आपने अपने सेकेंड पेज ऑफ नोटबुक पे नोट करना है. जो हमने टेंसेस वाला पार्ट किया था, कन्वर्टिंग दैट दिस सब्जेक्ट वॉज एंड वर्ब विल बी यूज विद दिस सब्जेक्ट, वो आपका क्लास वर्क था. एंड द सेकेंड पेज, द सेकेंड क्लास वर्क ऑफ योर इज दोज की पॉइंट्स: अगो, बिफोर, येस्टरडे, लास्ट एंड 2002. सो इट इज़ अ फिक्स्ड टाइम. ओके, सो जब आप कोई फिक्स टाइम के बारे में बात करते हैं, व्हेन आई वॉज अ चाइल्ड, एंड यू कैन ऑल्सो यूज दैट एन अदर टर्म. In any sentence, if you all will be looking and having a look at these key points, अगर आपको किसी भी sentence में ये key points दिखते हैं, these key points ago, before, yesterday, last, 2002, or any fixed time or any fixed date, year or scenario, and when I was a child, means that you were a child. Now if you are talking about when I was a child, if you are 7 years old now, then you might be talking about that time when you were 4 years old, and that 4 years old time period was obviously of the past. So if you are talking about, will be looking and can see, ever see these key points in these sentences, you all will be quickly understanding that these terms are used with the past tense, and for that purpose we all will be using what, was and were. Now this is your classwork activity and this is your homework activity. You all are supposed to mention the homework on the top middle of the page, not like that. I just mentioned it so that you will better understand what should be done on the notebook, and you all will be filling these blanks, okay, by using was and were. Okay, that was our today's lesson, and I hope you all better understand it. If there is any confusion or there is any query, we can again discuss it in class and while doing the recap. That was it for today's lesson, and I hope you all enjoyed it and learned it by heart and very well. So good luck for the lesson, and I urge you all to complete your homework and do a neat and a precise classwork and homework both. Okay students, Allah Hafiz.